I'll be one of the first to admit, us PC building enthusiasts tend to have an elitist attitude towards pre-builts. And there's a somewhat justifiable reason for that. Up until the last 3 or 4 years, pre-built companies haven't really offered a wide variety, a wide selection of parts to choose from. We haven't really been able to customize according to color or by form factor. But that's changed recently, especially with the mining craze jumping about. We have companies like NZXT Build, we have companies like Xidax who built this PC here, we have companies like Origin offering builders, or people who would rather have someone else build the PC for them, tons of options, and that's a good thing. And there's something else that not a lot of people talk about, and that's the fact that a lot of these companies, including Xidax, get these parts at a bulk discount price, which means they could potentially offer you an even better deal overall than if you went out and built this system on your own. So I'm going to judge this PC as if I built it myself. I'm going to price all the parts out, kind of like how I do in my Craigslist videos, and we'll see if any markup at all exists with this Xidax system, and if that markup does exist, how big of a markup is it, and is it justified in my eyes? So we'll talk about the viability of pre-builts in 2019 with the current market, seeing as though we can buy storage for fairly cheap now. Graphics cards are competitive and they're in stock for the most part now, so there's a lot of variables to consider. Again, we'll discuss all of that in this video, so stay tuned. Whether you're looking for a mid-tower with plenty of room for a stack of hard drives or a silent profile even under load, the Be Quiet Darkbase 700 has you covered, and act fast, only 3,000 units of the white edition you're seeing here are being made. Click the link below for more details. So what I want to do is pick up the camera and give you guys a POV, a first-person perspective of the inner workings of the system. We'll talk about each part involved, including all the fans, the AIO, the graphics card, the RAM, all that good stuff. Then we'll pop open the right side panel and we will check out Xidax's cable management. What kind of cable management should you expect in a pre-built system? I know you guys, when you hear that little combination of words, pre-built, is that one word? Actually, it's pre-built. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. That tends to get us enthusiasts, again, a little apprehensive, but I think you'll enjoy this build. I think you will enjoy the budget, the price, all of that was taken into consideration to give this system just a viable place, especially in the pre-built market, but even for people like you and I, who maybe just don't want to spend the extra time to build a PC ourselves. We can kind of coordinate all the colors and all the components online on Xidax's site, and then have it shipped to our front door already assembled with the operating system already ready to go. Anyway, I'm gonna pick up the camera, let's check it out. So this is the system. You can see the case is the BitPhoenix Enso, and if we swing around to the front here, yeah, it doesn't look like airflow was a top priority of the designers from BitPhoenix, so we'll be sure to test it out probably in a separate video, although I'm sure we will be running a temperature test in this video of this system. We do have an RX 590 from ASRock. Yeah, I know they make motherboards, but this is one of their first graphics cards they produced, at least the cooler for it. A Xidax 570 LX AIO, it's kind of Xidax's own AIO brand. We do have a push-pull config, which is pretty cool, and the fans themselves are from Be Quiet. These are Pure Wings 2 fans, which is impressive. And these aren't the best fans from Be Quiet, they're not Silent Wings 3, but heck, I'll take these over generic case fans any day of the week. You can see we have a 120mm AIO at the back there as well. ASRock X470 Master SLI motherboard, pretty beefy VRM there, and then the CPU is a Ryzen 7 2700X, so the best AMD consumer grade CPU you can buy right now. So this is a fully loaded system, and then we have 16 gigs. You can see there Trident Z DDR4, 3200 megahertz, super fast. We're going to be able to enable XMP with Ryzen, Zen Plus architecture. Will be a very nice system for gaming. That 590 that would be nice to have a slightly faster graphics card in there, considering we have a really beefy CPU, but the 590 is still a good card for 1080p and 1440p. So there's that side of the system. You can see we have custom sleeve white cables looking really good. Let's open up the back and see how the right side is faring. And yeah, look, it's not like super great, but this case doesn't have a ton of cable management space, so this isn't bad. We get a fan hub in here from Deepcool. Looks like we get I don't know what this is, for RGB LEDs maybe. And then we got our Focus Gold Seasonic power supply, 750 watt. I didn't talk about that before, but this is a really great power supply. Seasonic is a great brand, so a good choice on the PSU. Our 1 terabyte hard drive is down here in the hard drive cage, and then the rest of our cables are kind of stashed in. It's really difficult to cable manage when you have extensions, because that just adds extra bulk and length to the cables back here. So I think they did a good enough job. It doesn't look like a rat's nest per se up here. They worked with what they had. It's just a little more cluttered down here. Again, not much you can do when you're running extensions especially. So this isn't bad. I would give this like a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, whatever. I mean, it's not terrible. Actually, one more thing I wanted to show you. The tempered glass. So this is a tempered glass that comes with a case. It is slightly tinted, a little more tinted than I would like for a white chassis, but it's not too overkill. We do have a Xidax logo on there, but you can peel this off if you're not keen to, you know, blasting their logo on the glass. So it's nice that it's just a sticker. You can remove it, and that pretty much sums up the aesthetics. You can see the case is nicely lifted off the ground. Looks like there's a dust filter in there. So yeah, I mean, the works are there, and now we're gonna see if the works are in the software, so let's plug it in. So the PC booted up fine. I did have to sync the RGBs a little bit. You do get an included little controller here for the strip that is aligned on the top section of the case here next to the two 120mm exhaust fans. So this is nice. It's nothing super complex. I'm pretty sure these aren't even addressable RGBs, but nonetheless, it is included. What Xidax basically did, you get this box that ships with the case, and it's essentially comprised of the stuff that you typically get in motherboard boxes. So we have like the SLI bridge, we have, you know, like CD for software. We do have a few extra cables for the power supply that aren't included. We just don't need these. And we have the power cable for the power supply, motherboard manual, and that's really about it. For that. But I do want to say, when the PC first booted up, you had the BIOS splash screen. You can hop into that, change the fan settings. That's probably the first thing you'll want to do because the system runs pretty loud stock. So tweak the fan curves, and then you could also overclock if you wanted. I'm not going to overclock. I just enabled XFR, so it's going to kind of scale frequency on its own. That's really all you need to do unless you're doing some extreme overclocking with Ryzen. And then once you pass the BIOS, you'll hit the Windows splash screen. It's the startup Windows 10 screen where you get to select your language and your keyboard layout and all that good stuff. And then you hop right into Windows 10, and from there you can start downloading your favorite programs. All right, and our Crystal Disk Mark tests show that the included M.2 drive is pretty fast. This is one of the fastest write drives I've ever seen. I think you cap it around 4,000 megabytes per second, and then writes are about 2,500 megabytes per second. That's not the best in terms of writes, but again, this is, I mean, this isn't an overkill system. I think it's a well-balanced system, and having an M.2 like this is just going to mean the OS is going to be snappier. The games are going to load quick if you load something on this. It's a 500 gig M.2, so you could certainly load important programs on this. They will boot up very fast. And once you go from a hard drive to an SSD, and then from an SSD to an M.2, it's really difficult to look back. So I think you'll appreciate how fast this drive is. All right, now as for temperatures, this is what I was very curious about because it doesn't look like this case prioritizes airflow very much at all, the Bitphoenix Enso, which I'll do a separate review on again. With this hardware though, the temperatures with the front panel on and the dust filters included for the CPU reached about 60 degrees Celsius, 61 to be precise, and then the graphics card only reached, I believe it was 51 degrees Celsius. This is under a 50% utilization load for both simultaneously. And then here's the kicker. When I remove the front panel, I just slid it behind the case basically, as well as the dust filters included, the temperatures were really unchanged. About 60 degrees again for the CPU and about 50 degrees for the graphics card. There really wasn't even a temperature delta at all for our graphics card. So despite this case not necessarily prioritizing airflow, if you notice, there are like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 case fans in here, 8 120mm fans. Those are just, I mean, working overtime, even at this lower fan curve that I have things set to get air through the case to the components where it's, you know, really vital. So I'm actually pretty impressed with the build's ability to stay quiet. And again, this is a very conservative fan curve. So if I really wanted to ramp things up, make the system louder, I'm sure these temps would be even lower. So this is a pretty good result. I was actually anticipating that I would be knocking on this build for its temperature maintenance, but it's honestly not bad at all. So yeah, moving on to the next set of benchmarks, games. All right, so I tested 5 games just to get a general idea of how well the system will perform under load. I assume you're buying this for gaming. It's advertised as a gaming PC, so that makes sense. The first game we tested was Grand Theft Auto 5 in the high preset in 3440 by 1440s. This is going to stress the system quite a bit more than the general recommendation, say around 1080p, 1440p. This is a step above that. It's not quite 4K, but it is going to push the system a bit harder than 1440p would. would. But in the high preset in this resolution, we have 93 FPS on average, running the in-game benchmark, and then the lowest 1% of frames came in at around 64 FPS. So this is still hovering around 100 FPS on average. That's good. The frame dips are noticeable. If we had an Intel system, it would actually be a bit easier to run this game in particular. It just depends on the titles that you intend to play and what platform you're sporting, but I'd say this is pretty good considering we're playing in a high preset again. And 3440 by 1440 is no slouch in terms of resolution. Now, a disclaimer before we talk about our next game, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This one is a bit of a workaholic. It will stress any system. And my personal rig sporting an RTX 2070 and 9900K, and I'm still pushing in this exact preset, the same resolution, about 50 or so FPS. So when this system scores 38 FPS on average, it's actually not bad at all. And then that lowest 1% of frames only dropped to 33, so the margins there aren't too bad. Granted, we are playing, considerably under 60 FPS, so you might want to bump, or drop rather, the in-game settings here to make up for that loss in the frame rate. And that's exactly what we did for our next game, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Again, this is going to be a game that will stress any hardware you throw at it. Even the most expensive hardware will struggle to an extent to run this game, especially in the resolution in which we're playing this in the ultra-wide 1440p format. We scored 45 FPS on average in the medium preset, so a slight bump there because we dropped down the in-game settings, and that's perfectly acceptable. 1% lowest frames came in at 36 FPS. Again, don't be too surprised by these two games I just showed you. They are very intense, very difficult to run by any standard, so I'd say this is pretty good given what we have at our disposal. Up next is a much lighter game, less intensive. It's F1 2017. If you're into racing games, the system will run that perfectly fine. Ultra-wide is actually a really good form factor for a lot of racing games, as long as the game supports that resolution, that aspect. So in this case, 21:9, the average FPS was 91 in the high preset, the Australian Grand Prix map in wet conditions. That's the benchmark we always run with this game. And then the lowest 1% of frames came in at 75 FPS, so not too big a dip again. I'd say this is more than plenty for most racing gamers out there. And lastly, to kind of sum it all up, we ran a 3D Mark Firestrike score. This is just in the 1080p resolution, so it's different than the other benchmarks you just saw. And our score came in at exactly 14,000, actually 14,001 to be fair, but let's just say 14,000, pretty cool. So you can compare your system with that of this one. Maybe you're sporting a system that costs only $1,000. Run 3D Mark Firestrike, see what score you get, and you can compare it to this system here, which is gonna come in at around $1,700 if you buy it from Xidax. Now, speaking of the price of this thing, what I'm gonna do to end this video is price each component out. If I wanted to build a system right now, because you could buy this exact system right now, what's the markup of this? Should you expect to pay $100 to $200 markup? Maybe more, maybe less. Maybe you could build this whole system for slightly more if you wanted to build it yourself. Maybe you're actually getting a small discount if you buy pre-built. We're gonna figure that out right now. All right, so what we're gonna use is PC Part Picker, of course. We're only going to search for parts on Amazon and Newegg. Those are the only two places I shop for PC parts, and I can find pretty much everything I want on those two sites. I get quick shipping with Premiere and Prime, so that's my justification. You don't have to agree with it, it's just what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pick the CPU first. That is, of course, the 2700X Ryzen 7 CPU, $290 on Amazon. That is nice. Now the CPU cooler, it's a 240mm AIO, but it's a Xidax brand. I'm not sure if we could buy anything equivalent to that. I know we have, like here, this is the H100i Pro. It's a really nice AIO from Corsair. So what we'll do is just include that one because I don't think we're going to find the Xidax one. The motherboard is the ASRock X470 Master SLI AC. Memory is G.Skill Trident Z, 16 gigs, 3200. This is it right here, $130. Memory's come down a lot in price, but I would still like to see this price slightly lower. I just realized I had Outlet PC for those. I never shop at Outlet PC, so I changed these to Newegg. The prices were fairly similar, so not much of a change there. All right, storage. We have a 500 gig M.2 NVMe drive. So I think what we're gonna do is go with something fairly similar. Again, this wasn't a branded NVMe drive. At least it wasn't on the website. I didn't take it out and look at it. So let's just say it was a Western Digital Black. This is a pretty fast drive, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, here are the reads and writes. So somebody ran Crystal Disk Mark, which is what we did, and our results were almost identical to these here. So we're just gonna assume it's a Western Digital drive. It's probably not, but now the video card. We're gonna type in ASRock, and yeah, that's what I thought. Nothing's coming up. So RX 590. Can we find the ASRock Phantom? Yes, this is it right here. Up next is the case. It is the BitPhoenix Enso. And we're going to add, I don't think it really matters if it's the white or the black one. That's the black one there, and this is the white one. Okay, so we'll go ahead and add that. Choose a power supply, 750 watt Seasonic. It's the Focus. There we go, $106 for that. And that's also sold on Newegg Business. Now, we don't have an optical drive. Case doesn't support that. An operating system, we have Windows 10. Now, this is a part where I'm going to be fairly frugal because I would never pay $100 personally for Windows 10 Home. It's just not going to happen. I buy these keys from other websites. It just makes more sense to me. Save your money if you can. You can also buy keys on sites like eBay from old systems. You can recycle those keys. So depends on what you really want to do. What I'm going to do is add this, and I'm just going to tack on a $20 manual price here because that's about the most I would ever pay for it. And we've got 8 Pure Wings, 2 fans. All right, that was yeah, about $100 in and of itself. Okay, so you can buy quite a number of RGB strips for a ton of different prices. And of course, they're selling a big kit for $40. So we can give this system the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't include a Corsair kit, but whatever. If you want to drop $40 on a build, then you could certainly do that. And let's see, where's our system here? I'm just going to add whatever. We're going to call it a mouse, but it's fine. It's not really a mouse. It's not included. We'll change the price to $30. There we go. We forgot the hard drive. We didn't include the hard drive, and I just realized that. Let's go back up here, add additional storage, 1 terabyte Caviar Blue from WD. There we go. Okay, anything else? I just realized I forgot the custom cables. If we include the custom cables, let's just throw another $100 in there. Let's just do it. I mean, you could get custom cables from Cable Mod for $100. Screw it. I'm just going to call it external storage. I don't know what the heck this is for $1,500. We're going to click it though, and then we're going to rename it, or reprice it rather, $100. Okay, now we're at $1,500. That's not bad. My rule of thumb is around 10%. If you charge more than 10% for a markup, it's probably because the system is really expensive. This is definitely an expensive build. $1,500 is no slouch, but I don't think that it's... I don't think it's the best markup that I've seen. Let's go on to a different company site. Let's go to NZXT Build. This is not a sponsored spot or anything. I just want to see what NZXT charges for a similar system, just out of curiosity, because I actually haven't done anything with Build before, or BLD, whatever you want to call it. So let's build now and see what NZXT does is charge a $100 flat fee, no matter what. So this should be, I'm thinking it should be cheaper. But you see, like, this is just, you just pick games you want to play at. Let's do 1440p, pick your price. Let's say $1,500. Let's choose AMD and see, it's going to recommend us a Ryzen 5 2600, an RTX 2070, 500 gig SSD, and 16 gigs of DDR4, basically the same RAM kit. And that's going to cost about $1,478. So that's not bad, but I want to tweak just a little more with it, see what we can get for a few extra bucks. CPU, let's choose the 2700X. Let's go big or go home. And yeah, looking good. Let's see what we have for storage. So we have a Samsung 860 EVO. It's 500 gigabyte. Okay, and then we also have a 9.7. Well, we could upgrade that too. That's not bad. Hard drive. Let's do 1 terabyte. There we go. So 1618. So for $1,618 or $1,619, you could get, let's see if I can get an overview again of the stuff. Okay, cool. All right. So $1,618, that includes the Windows 10 software. That includes the standard build service that they charge $99. The CryoRig H7 CPU cooler. It's not an AIO. You could add a $40, $50 for an extra AIO. It's still coming in cheaper, and you're getting an RTX 2070 instead of an RX 590. And a 2070 is a definite good step in the right direction. It's just a much better card. So yeah, I mean, look, it depends on where you shop. Obviously, if you want to build on your own, then this video really doesn't apply to you. But if you are interested in building a system with any of these companies, NZXT just started doing this a few years ago. Xidax has been around, I believe, a bit longer in the PC building space. I know NZXT's been around a long time. I'm just saying, when it comes to the BLD service, that's a rather new service that they offer. I would say this is actually probably a better deal, just based on what I'm seeing here. So yeah, look, I mean, this obviously isn't a plug for NZXT. They probably didn't even know I was doing this. I'm sure Xidax didn't know I would do this either, but I'm going to show you guys as much as I can. I want to find you guys the best deals. It looks like NZXT's BLD service is slightly more competitive, $1,618 for a better system, in my opinion. I mean, I don't even think it's an opinion. I think it's a fact. The 2070 is definitely a better graphics card, and the CPU is identical. The RAM is nearly identical. This is a good price. So you guys can just shop around. I will say the Xidax system is a bit higher priced than I would like to see. But that's where I'm going to leave it. I mean, this is ultimately subjective. Just find the best deal for the parts you're getting with a good warranty on the parts. I know Xidax has a really good warranty, and I believe NZXT does too. So you guys can just pick and choose. I'm sure some pre-builts are going to be cheaper on some sites than others. It really just depends on when you're shopping and where you're shopping. So that is it for this one, folks. Let me know what you think about this pre-built and what you think about pre-builts in general in the comment section below, and whether or not you would consider this build for this price at its current price right now. I'm sure it will kind of fluctuate depending on the price of parts. In general, though, I will say pre-builts tend to be fairly competitive because they can, again, buy in bulk, so they get discounts on parts when they buy, you know, 50 ASRock graphics cards. They get a small discount for buying in bulk. It's good for ASRock, it's good for this company, and it does sometimes pass along to the consumer, the end consumer as well. So that is something to consider. That's why I won't completely, you know, shut out pre-builts from this channel. I think it would be naive. So definitely consider them. I mean, look, if you enjoy building, I don't want to take that away from you. Sure, go ahead, do it all on your own. I mean, I kind of encourage that to a degree. But if you're just looking for a system, you don't want to deal with the hassle of putting it all together, installing the operating system, this is very easy to just pull out of the box and set up, run right away. Windows 10 is ready to go. You just type in your name, your account info, and you're all set. So with that, yeah, again, let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and stay tuned for more content like this. You guys are awesome. Thumbs up, click the subscribe button. You know what to do. This is Science Studio. Thanks for watching, and thanks for learning with us.